Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new with me, my name is Lani and we are doing a garden tour today, specifically of my backyard. So we are in Zone 8B, El Paso, Texas, and I gotta say my backyard's looking pretty good. There are some hiccups in my yard. I don't usually fix up my yard for these tours. I just show you exactly what it is and explain why it looks the way it does. So then that way you guys have a more realistic view of what actually happens in your yard and that it is okay that it is happening in your yard. So right now I will show you the blooms that are coming out right now, which are looking beautiful. But I'm also going to show you how some of the wind that we recently had was so horrible that it just damaged a lot of my plants. Yeah. But again, it is okay. That's part of life. That's part of nature. And that's part of gardening. So please stick around. And here is my backyard garden tour. So I'm going to start right here. Let's just address the ugly in the garden, okay? You see my metal edgers right here. I am going to replace them. They're a bit expensive, out of my budget right now. So just keep that in mind. You're going to see it and be like, why is your edgers looking all messed up? That is something I am going to fix. I know they're messed up and I am going to fix it later on. It's just right now. It's just one of those projects that I have to wait a little bit later in the year. I just wanted to get that out of the way. But having some sort of edger to line your garden bed does make a really big difference on keeping a nice organized structure to your yard. So I just wanted to throw that out there before we got started. Oh, look at this, guys. So the main beauty in this corner right here is my beautiful plumbago. This is several years old. It's definitely drought tolerant, heat loving. It thrives with and without water. It is great. It can get pretty aggressive, especially if you plant it like I have it. It's part, and I would say this is more of a part sun area. It does get more sun in the afternoon, which it does love. And I think it just works well for this plant. I'll show you a little bit later in the video where I have another plumbago and it's in full sun. And it actually gets more water than this specific area. And it's actually very compact. So I'll show you that in a bit. But this is my plumbago. And you can see here, let me zoom in. It's just a very pretty flower. Oh my goodness. It doesn't really have a smell to it. Definitely gets large. There's people who keep it in a bush or they make it into a hedge. I just let it grow the way it wants to grow. And I love kind of like the rough or I guess the natural way it grows. I think it looks really, really pretty. Here I have my foxtail fern. This is also drought tolerant. It is, I'm not going to say it's soft, but it's definitely not a spiky kind of plant. You could definitely have this around children and there will be no issue. It's very pretty. It brings definitely texture to your garden bed. This one doesn't have a smell either, but it's the same as my plumbago. It is drought tolerant, heat loving. This plant is actually very helpful when it's in distress. I noticed that if you overwater, it will let you know. This part right here will completely look dried out and it'll break off very, very easily. That means pretty much just, you know, slow down on the watering. It can also be a very, like a heat kind of issue, but I think it's more so of a watering issue. That's the only time I saw that it was in distress. I maintained the water for my garden bed. I'm changing it right now. So right now, my husband and I, we've been testing the water. We've been testing our sprinkler heads. We've been testing our dripper system that we just placed a couple weeks ago. And we're right now going through how much water we need for each part. Obviously, every plant needs different watering um, requirements, and these plants have been placed throughout the years, right? So some require more, and now others are established, so they require less. So we're trying to find that right amount of water, but I think my husband and I have agreed that we are going to water the garden beds one time a week, deep watering for sure, and see how that goes. And then the sprinklers will go off anywhere from 2 to 3 times, mostly in the summertime, um, to get the grass. The grass is not looking that great right now. We do need to fertilize it. We bought some ironite, so we will be spraying that a little bit later on this week, just to help it grow and to give it some nutrients back into the soil. We are trying to grow back this bald spot, which it is growing back, so we're very happy about that. But anyways, back to here, the foxtail fern does great in this spot. Again, this is like a full sun, part sun area. In the morning time, it does get shade, but it's maybe for 2 to 3 hours. Next, right here, these are Dream Rose petunias. I got these from Sunset Gardens off of Donathan. Nothing much here. You got to just really worry about watering. We knew we were overwatering. You see how the leaves are a little yellow right there and kind of dingy looking? That tells me that we were overwatering. So that's why we are trying to figure out the right amount of water for these plants. We lowered the watering recently and the blooms are coming, so it's definitely helping that we're not drowning our plants. Another thing, so this is the first time it's actually been blooming because squirrels love petunias. So if you're in zone 8B and you have a squirrel problem, I highly recommend that you get these cat mats or some kind of fencing netting to go over your plants. I know it's not the best looking or the prettiest thing to look at in your garden, but ultimately you got to decide what you really want in your garden. I want the flowers, right? And when I am out here, I would like to enjoy seeing the flowers. So I put them up. I'll put a picture of the cat mats that I got. They're basic. They're off of Amazon. They're plastic spikes. And pretty much I use it as like a little fortress around my plants that I don't want them to eat. And it's been keeping them away. So I'm pretty happy about that. But ground squirrels, especially in El Paso, Texas, love petunias. And oh my goodness, as soon as I was planting these, it was like every single day they were just eating it all the way down to the ground. It was horrible. But once I put that cat mat on there, it's been protecting it pretty well. Right here, I would say, and I said it many times before, if you're new to gardening, especially in the desert, and you don't know what to put in there to start off with, plant lantana. It is a very hardy, sturdy, desert, drought-tolerant, heat-loving plant. And it comes in so many different colors. It is just an all-around great plant. You could get the ones that are mounding. You could get the ones that are trailing or in a bush form. And so you got a lot of options with this plant. If you're all about the aromas in the garden, this won't be your plant because this plant does stink. I don't know what it is, but it just doesn't have a really good fragrance to me. But I'm more about the blooms than the scent, although I would like all my plants to have a nice scent to it, but if it doesn't, it's not a deal breaker. But if you have a bare spot, you need something that's pretty big, definitely 12 to 24 inches tall and or wide. Lantanas are definitely the thing for you. This one right here is a golden mounding lantana. These are perennials, so that means that they will come back every year. These petunias are annuals, so that means that they would come back once a year. So the difference between annuals and perennials is perennials will have blooms. Sometimes when you plant them, it'll take them maybe a while for it to finally get established and for the blooms to come. But then once they're established, they'll continue to come year after year. Annuals, they are very vibrant in color. They are packed with blooms for that season. So for that 1 year, and then it will die off. Now, with that being said, with our zone 8B, there are several annuals that kind of becomes perennials or temperennials, which means that based on the temperature, they'll come back. And so there are some plants here that I'm going to pretty much test out and see if they are returning into a perennial or they're annuals and they just died off. So this is my test area more so, but these are annuals. I have some proven winners plants that they swore up and down they're annuals, they'll die, they'll never come back. And I have a proven winners Super Tunia bubblegum, and it has come back for me for 3 years in a row. No issue with that. I have it in a pot. I protect it during the winter time with a moving blanket. That's it. And it comes back every year. So I'm hoping that all these other plants will do so. The petunias here that I got from Sunset Flowers are not proven winners. So that's why I'm going to test these out and see how well they go. These are Super Bells. Sorry about my shadow, guys. Aren't these cute? These are the proven winners. Oh my goodness, Super Bell pomegranate punch. So if you look here, all the Super Bells, they have a very vibrant color, and then they have a dark neck. Do you see that? Very pretty. The lightness of the plant is the same issue. It was a watering issue. They're drought tolerant, heat tolerant annuals. They're self deadheading, which means that you do not need to come out and deadhead them yourself to create more blooms. Sometimes they'll tell you that you can deadhead on your own to promote more growth, but I don't think you have to, just because I haven't had to do it with my proven winners Super Tunia pink bubblegum, and it is what they say it is. It self deadheads, it blooms on its own. I recommend that you fertilize. That's what Proven Winners also recommends. I fertilized for the spring already, but they said that if you see that the blooms are kind of just sparing, a couple blooms here and there, go ahead, just feed it a little bit more, water it again, and see if that helps, because they say that they are heavy feeders. So moving right along, this is also a Super Bell Grape Punch. Same thing. Beautiful, dark, vibrant colors, a very dark neck. Very, very pretty. Okay, here I have my Lithadora. These are supposed to have pretty little blue flowers, and they do not. Earlier in the year, it was doing great, but again, when I was figuring out the water with my husband, it's just been a hit and miss. I think we were, again, just more so over watering everything that we've had, so it was struggling. So now that we switched it, as you can see, this one's kind of suffering, but it has a little bit of green, so it's trying to come back. But this one, after we stopped watering as much as we did, it went back to being green. So I'm hoping that by next week or 2 weeks from now, since we cut back on the watering, this will finally have those blue blooms. Moving on, I have this little section right here. This is going to be very interesting for me. So I have some recommended shade plants in this area. Again, in the morning, I have 2 to 3 hours of shade. Then I have some full sun action going on. And then most of the day after that, it's going to be part sun, right? So I have two test places for my plants. This area right here, where it has, like I said, some shade, some sun. And then I have the same exact plants in another area that has only shade. And I'll let you know later on throughout the year or throughout the season, how they're doing, okay? Just because I don't know. I never really had that much shade in my yard. If you look at my previous video, this was completely desert. All of this area right here was gravel and dirt. It literally looked like that back hill. It was horrible. And it took my husband and I almost 8 years to get it to where it is now. And so now I'm in a place in my life that I actually have a chance to experiment with plants and where to place them and see if it works or not. So I'm kind of excited about this. But moving on, I'm jabbering now. This is my hosta right here. I got that one from Lowe's. The rest of the plants that you see here, I got them from Home Depot. This is my proven winners. I believe this is white hippo. Let me see. Yes, so this is hippo white from proven winners. And then you see back here, I have my coreopsis. Ooh, look at the butterflies. Oh my God, do you guys see them? Do you guys see them? Oh my God, they're getting all crazy. Hi, pretty ladies. Hi. Anyways, so I have my coreopsis here. I have some shade-loving, supposed shade-loving hippo white. And I have some hostas here. I have a Tacoma I actually thought was dead, but it started growing back. So I'm really happy about that. And I have a volunteer canna lily back here, which I have another one back to my right. I could dig them up. Canna lilies are very, very easy to retransplant. You just literally dig them up, and the rhizome that it's connected to, you just make sure you take that whole piece with you and just plant it wherever else you want to go. Canna lilies are also drought tolerant, heat-loving plants. They thrive without your assistance. And they could get anywhere from 5 to 6 feet tall, as wide, and they are perennials here in Zone 8B. My next favorite plant to showcase is my red apple Aptenia. Guys, again, I can't say it enough. If you want a plant that is continuously giving to you, it's this. It's an ice plant, drought tolerant, perennial, easy to make more plants out of cuttings. And when I say more plants out of cuttings, literally doesn't matter how you cut them. You just cut a piece. Make sure that you have maybe a finger length of stem. You pretty much stick it in a hole, water it once, and it will grow. It will regrow. So every single Aptenia I have in my yard is from one plant, and I just pretty much put it into whatever design I want. And it's easy to know if it needs water from you or not. If it starts getting very pale, kind of mushy looking, you're overwatering it. Just let it dry out. If it starts to get yellow, like a dry, crunchy yellow, water it. That's it. That's all you need to know about this plant. And then once it's established, you pretty much have to worry about how much you want to cut off, how much you want to give to people, or how much you need to throw away to maintain the space. And that's it. But it is a great plant. I highly recommend it. It's very pretty. Let me zoom in on the flowers. Bees love red apple Aptenias. These are also called hearts and flowers, ice plants. It has many names. See what I mean? Look at that. Look at that cute little bee. Oh my God, it's so cute. Aw. Okay, the next plant I have here, this is my purple wisteria. This is a climbing plant. I don't have a climbing structure available for it yet. So what I did was I took the bamboo sticks that came in the nursery pots for other plants, and I just stuck it on here just so it has something to climb for right now. With time, I'm hoping that I'll be able to connect something to this wall and then have it kind of just gracefully go over it. Maybe another arch, maybe? I'm not sure yet. I do know that I need to replaster my wall, so that's why I'm not really in a hurry to get any kind of structure up to get this established, but I know I'm going to have to do it eventually because it's starting to get big. As you can see, it's a multi-trunk. It says that it likes full sun. I think it would get bigger and it would probably be considered invasive if it was in full sun. But because of the location that it is in, I think it's maintaining its size pretty nicely here. Okay, so moving on to here, I really wish these were already blooming. They were blooming. They had a moment where, again, plants drowning in the desert is a thing. And I almost lost all of these guys. The sprinklers were hitting right here. So this was doing pretty well, pretty fine. The blooms were there, but the water literally stopped dead center. So these two right here were completely fried and dying. And so then I would hand water and then I would then drown them because now I'm watering all this section, right? So I was overdoing it. So now with our new watering that we're trying out, it seems to be working for these plants here. This is a, I want to say this is a desert sage. Maybe. I think it is. I think it is a desert sage. Correct me if I'm wrong. I can't remember every single plant, guys. I am going to put up what I don't remember and I'm able to find the actual name for it. I'll put it in this video, okay? But these come with purple flowers. Very, very pretty. Here is my pitiful green I think it's Thompson green grapes. It is so sad. This was definitely not the right location for this. I actually thought it would died. But it started growing and I'm so afraid to transplant it anywhere else. I'm just going to leave it be. If it grows, great. If it doesn't, it's one of those things I'm like, I'm okay if I have to let it go. When it was thriving in this area, I had issues with insects and animals eating it anyways. So it was like one of those plants, like I really wanted it to thrive and succeed in my garden. But it was also one of those plants that I'm kind of like, if it's going away, causes less problems for me, then I'm okay with it, you know? So it's not a win in the garden, but it's not yet a loss in the garden. So I don't know how I feel about this one, but the Thompson green grapes will stay right there and we'll see how it does this year. Here, let me zoom out. You have, let's see. Oh, my pink coral vines. I got this last season from Sierra Vista Growers. I got two of them. This one is in part sun. And this one does not get any water except for hand watering. And so far it's doing good. This one I left like the vines that were dying off last year on it. And it's actually doing a good job growing back onto the vine. I heard that you should cut it down to the ground. So I have another one in another part of my yard. And I did that. It's coming back great, beautiful, but it's not long enough now to actually hit my arbor. So this is going to be pretty interesting. We'll see how it goes. We'll see which one actually grows and covers this arbor faster. So we'll see throughout the season how that goes. In the back here, I have some English ivy. Same issue. This one is shade loving. It seems to be doing great in this area. Also hand watering once a week. I have a little trellis there that if it needs something to grow on, it can. But I know ultimately I need to put some kind of a climbing structure back here, like a stable, strong structure. So then that way it could climb it. And my goal is that, let me zoom out. If I have ivy, how pretty would it look if it had an ivy wall, like right here, all the way in the back. So you don't see the rock wall, but I can't really do anything about it until I replaster my wall. So I'm hoping that as much as I want it to grow as fast as it can, I'm hoping that it grows just enough for that white trellis until I can figure out what I'm going to do with the rock wall and the climbing structures in this area. So moving on to here, this is looking boo-boo, but this is my mother plant aloe vera. Every single aloe vera I have in my yard or in my pot is from this mother plant right here. It's looking a little rough right now, but as you could tell, it's starting to green up. I'll probably need to add some more soil to it, but it is one of my favorite plants. It actually blooms these weird looking flowers from the center, and I actually really enjoy seeing that. To improve the look of this plant, I'm probably just going to go through, get some pruners, clip off these dead pieces here, water, add some more soil, and it'll be good to go. Not a problem. It comes back every single year. I've had this for like 4 or 5 years. So it is a great plant. It thrives on neglect. More Aptenias, again, same thing from the same plant. Let's see. One of the things that you will see me have throughout my yards this year is vincas. These are Vinca Madagascar. They come in several different colors. They're drought tolerant. They love the heat. You do have to water them maybe once or twice a week, depending on how hot it gets. But what I really, really like about it, it gives me the flowers and the color choices that I want. I mean, look how pretty that is, right? They're easy to plant. They're annuals. Again, I'm going to see if they become perennials. I did have these planted in the VA garden, and they did very, very well all season long, but we had to pull them out in the wintertime, so I didn't really see if they could stay or not. So my yard now is the testing area for these to see if it does do that. One of the major reasons why I have them in my yard, along with it being drought tolerant and heat loving, is the squirrels do not like them. And because of that, I have more plants in my yard. So I made sure that I had these all around. I don't know if it's the aroma specifically or just the taste of the vinca itself that deters them, but the ground squirrels, they just do not care. They will bypass these every single time. So I highly recommend this if you have a squirrel problem. Okay. This right here are my canna lilies. Nothing much said except they're drought, heat loving. You could transplant them anywhere you want. They get 6 feet, 5 to 6 feet tall and wide. These come out orange. I know there's several different varieties with the leaves having very pretty striations and such. These are just the standard basic ones that grow here in El Paso, Texas, and in New Mexico. They just do great. You could literally dig them out if you just don't like the spot and put them anywhere else in your yard and they'll do just fine. I'm going to zoom out so you guys could see my Palo Verde. Sorry about the sun, guys. I hope you guys could see it. But look how green it looks. It just gives you very pretty, whimsical vibe. And the flowers are just so darn cute. One of the benefits about the Palo Verde is that it's very drought tolerant. It literally needs nothing from you. It is grown naturally in the desert. One of the negative is it drops a lot of seed pods, and every single one of those seed pods will grow into another Palo Verde tree. So as much as I love these, there are times throughout the year I have to go around my garden and just start pulling them out, or they all become trees. So every single one of these trees are all volunteers from the mother tree, which is back there. I love it because it gives me a lot of shade. I don't have to really worry about it, just the trimming of it. It's a bee magnet. So bees, if you're trying to encourage beneficial pollinators to come into your yard and you want some shade, this is definitely the tree for you. If I start getting seedlings and you want a Palo Verde, let me know. I'll be glad to give you some. One of the issues with Palo Verde though is its leaf litter. You see all of that? That is from the winter time when the leaves, you know, they get a little too cold, dry out, and then fall, and it kind of creates this blanket. And in the wintertime, it's fine for me because it's protecting my soil. But if you're like one of those people who like everything to be nice and clean and neat, this might not be the tree for you because it is going to have some leaf litter and it is going to have seed pods that you have to worry about throughout the year. But as far as maintenance on it, you don't really have to worry about it. It's very, very pretty. It does have thorns, so keep that in mind. The thorns grow everywhere. So just like here, you see how it's just growing? And I just have to go through and I just cut them all off. When you cut them all off, the tree stump looks like this. And I just leave it be. And actually, I forgot to tell you guys about this tree. This beautiful baby right here. This is my favorite tree in the whole entire world. And this is a Chilean mesquite. Thornless, very, very pretty, very fast growing, just like the Palo Verde, fast growing. It does make a mess. As you can see, the blooms on here are these fluffy yellow pods. Very pretty. But then when the actual pods come out, they are everywhere. Everywhere. My yard, my neighbor's yard. One of the only benefits of that is you can actually take the pods and make flour into it. And so I usually collect them throughout the year. And then in my gardening group, Color the Desert with Lani on Facebook, I let people know and people come by and grab bags worth of these seed pods. They dry them out and then make them into flour. That is really, really cool. And there's nothing bad about this except for the seed pods that are messy. But if you're okay with those seed pods, then I highly recommend that tree. Let's see, let's go back to here. Let me do this. Let me go over here. This is my lemon coral sedum from Proven Winners, along with more Vinca, Madagascar. Beautiful. They're like little succulents. They come with pretty little flowers. Some people don't like them and cut off the flowers. I'm completely okay with the flowers. I like the natural look of it. I'm hoping that with time, it kind of grows in a little bit more. So it'll be just like a nice little triangle shape right here in this area to cover up this bare spots. These are drought tolerant, heat loving. These are my lemon coral sedum, Vinca Madagascar right here. Here I have some orange lantanas and some, I have three, I think they're called from Monrovia, oh shoot, fire poker plants, fire stick plants, poker stick plants, something like that. I'll put it in the video. Again, I'm trying to remember all these plants, but sometimes it's kind of hard. Like you kind of remember a little bit of what the name is, but I'll make sure that I put it in this video on what they are and what they look like. So you kind of have an idea why I planted them here. I do want to show you that these are my orange lantanas. They're just now growing and they don't have any blooms. And these were planted the exact same time as this lantana. The only difference is this is shaded by my Palo Verdes right here. And this has full sun mostly throughout the day. So that is a key factor. Sun exposure does make a difference on how much blooms you get. But the orange lantana, pollinators love them. The blooms are so pretty. All the flowers are so cute and dainty. I love the variation of colors in this. I have some more canna lilies here. I have my Russian pomegranate here. I don't know the difference between the wonderful pomegranates and the Russian pomegranates. This is my first time. I know, right? Living in the desert all these years, and this is my very first time planting a pomegranate. I planted it last fall, and it really loves poor quality soil, rich soil, drought. Like they don't want to really be bothered by you. Some people plant these and train them like a tree. Some leave it as a bush. It's totally up to you. Right now, since there's my plant is so small, I'm just leaving it kind of like in a bush form, and I'm hoping as it gets bigger, I could finally figure out a shape that I want to go with here. But it's starting to bloom now, and it's got little flowers here. Let me zoom in on that. Like a pretty bell, and I believe that those pretty bells turn into the actual pomegranate. So I'm really looking forward to that. If you want to know more specific details about like stone fruit that um, does well in the desert, I highly recommend following Johnny B from El Paso Fruit Growers on Facebook. He's very knowledgeable on drought tolerant fruit trees that could grow well in our climate. And so if you have one and you need a little bit more details on that, I highly recommend you go to his group and ask him for some details. And he actually sells some native fruit trees too, like the fig trees. So definitely just talk to him. He's got a plethora of knowledge. So go over to his channel and check him out. If you go over here, I have my Mexican feathergrass. Look how pretty it is in the wind. You see that? Some people will say that it's invasive. As you can see, all these came from one plant as well. And it is really easy to remove. Like I'm talking about, I could just pull on this whole plant just like this, pull it out, and then stick it somewhere else in the ground and it'll do fine. It comes in this like yellowish, greenish hue. The parts that look a little fluffy on the top are the seeds. And you will see them growing everywhere. So normally what I do is I like it to fill up space. I like for my soil not to be bare. So the more I could cover, the better, right? So I just leave it growing as is. And if it's just getting overcrowded or if it's just, not looking too good or it actually died, I just pull them out, throw them away, or I use it in my turtle habitat for some brush for it to hide under. And yeah, it's a very great plant. Definitely recommend it. I'm all about that plant that could give you more. And this is definitely it. Heat tolerant, perennial. I'm sorry, heat loving, perennial, drought tolerant, and will reproduce on its own. Very minimum maintenance. I told you my orange lantana, more Vinca madagascars. See what I mean? I had some pink ones that I showed you a little bit earlier. Then I got some deep ruby colored ones here. And then I have the white ones here. Okay, now this section. Oh man, wait till I show you guys. So right here, I have my Black Mission fig. I have this training up as a tree. I think it looks pretty good, but again, I had some watering issues. It doesn't really require that much water from you once it's established. But I know that I was over watering because if you look here, you see how the leaves have this color to it? Most of the time when my fig leaves look like this, it's telling me that I'm over watering. It turns this color, then it turns pale, and then it just wilts and then falls off. So once I started seeing this, I shortened the watering and it started to do a lot better. I don't have any figs popping out yet, but it's looking very pretty. I have more Mexican feathergrass right here. See how it protects the soil area? Oh, I love it. It looks very pretty. Here, let me tell you. Let me tell you the background, guys. So this whole area has my super tunias, and every single super tunia that I planted here was eaten by squirrels. And those little bastards like just went ahead and had a buffet in my yard. So what I did was I used these cat mats that I found off of Amazon, and I placed it on top of them. And now the blooms are finally coming out, okay? Because they're not able to really get to them with the spikes. They don't want, you know, their cute little paws to be injured. So they kind of leave it alone, right? So again, it doesn't look pretty, but you got to protect your plants. Well, however way you need to protect your plants, let the blooms come, and then remove the protecting piece. And that would be a better experience for you than coming out every single day hoping that they don't eat it and finding out they did eat it. Okay, so I will show you later on what those cat mats look like, but they're really cheap. They come in a bundle. You could get them like 25 or 50 mats packages. Very inexpensive. You could get any version of them on Amazon. And yeah, I just literally put them into any kind of fort, or I just lay it right on top of my plant. And it's been doing a good job protecting it from the squirrels. These are my Super Tunia lovey-doveys. And same issue. When you see the yellow leaves, it's because of overwatering. And so the easiest fix is to reduce the watering for these. And any proven winners plant, they're going to require you to fertilize either weekly or monthly. And if you want more blooms, you're going to want to fertilize at least once a week. I have not done that. I fed them all during the spring, but if I want more blooms, I will go feed them later. But I also want to see how they do without me feeding them that often, just because the ground that you see here is like years in the making. So I kid you not, this was all dirt, just native dirt. It's very hard for water to penetrate. There's no nutrition in the soil. And so it took me years of placing compost, mixing it with the native soil, adding coco coir, adding mulch. When the mulch breaks down, it feeds the soil, adding water, then adding more compost and adding more mulch, and just keep on creating these layers, and then creating a environment where essentially the soil is now being fed, right? By all the breakdown of the natural materials in the soil. And then that natural material in the soil breaks down and feeds the plants, right? So it's kind of like one of those things where you're like, you know that you could add fertilizer and it will definitely help your plants. But at the same time, if you are doing compost and watering, and you know you have earthworms in your soil, that naturally is the natural fertilizer to feed your plants. So right now, I did feed them early spring, but I want to see how they do on their own with all these different layers of soil that I put in here, and see if my soil has been enriched. But aside from that, these blooms just barely started popping out because, again, I protected it with my cat mats. These, I believe, are the same. These are all lovey-doveys. This is my purple Madagascars. I just planted these from my shade garden on the side of my house. I transplanted them here like 4 days ago. So they're looking a little sad. I think that's like transplant shock, but I'm not concerned. I think they're going to do fine. This was my hibiscus from Proven Winners. Was doing beautiful, guys, but apparently squirrels love hibiscus as well. And so unfortunately, they did a number on this. And so I'm in the stage of trying to regrow it. And listen, I'm not here to say that I don't want nature to do its thing and the wildlife to eat, because I want them to eat, right? And I want to be a good steward of our natural world and help out these cute little furry creatures, right? But it's sometimes they just make a mess of things, right? So I got to do what I got to do. And one of the things is putting the forts down so then I could protect them. So I will be putting a cat mat around this as well so that it gives it a chance to rebloom. This, I'm not going to lie to you, this was a spontaneous, random buy. I don't even know what it is, what it was, if it's still alive. I'm not sure. If you guys know what it is, let me know. It was one of those like impulse buys because it said that it was on the clearance rack and it was on sale. So I just got all excited and I just bought it. Didn't look it up. It didn't have a tag. And so I just stuck it in the ground. I'm assuming it's watering issues with this plant too, because normally I go straight for the drought tolerant plants. So I think it might have just been overwatered. So I'm hoping that it bounces back. But if you kind of could figure out what this is, please let me know. Over here, I have my Mexican Redbird of Paradise. This is old leaves from last year. It's just now barely starting to grow out. Normally, I cut it back, and then when you cut it back, it starts growing from the bottom into a nice little bush. So eventually, once it gets halfway, I'll cut the other parts down. But until then, I'm just going to leave it alone the way it looks. But it looks kind of funny in my yard, but I'm okay. This is an epic fail right here. Let me zoom on this. This was my creeping phlox. And this was one of those plants that I just did not water right at all. When I was watering these plants and I was like, oh, they're overwatered, I just assumed that this part would also be overwatered. So I let it dry out, and that was a bad mistake on me. So what I recommend you do is when you get the plants, try really hard. I know I make these mistakes too, right? So just learn from my mistakes, but try really hard to save the tags of the plant. And if you have a bad memory like I do, stick it with the plant. And then from time to time, read up on it. Read up on it in your, ask in your gardening groups the questions about the plant. Ask people to show you what their plant looks like, how long they've had it established, what sun exposure they have, because you could read all this stuff online, but some people with trial and error and their experience, they could actually give you more information that would benefit you on how to do it in your zone. Okay, so keep that in mind and keep the tag there so you could like read up on it and ask your questions that you need to ask. Okay, here is my plumbago that I was telling you about. Full sun, right? Very compact. And that's my yellow bells. These can get crazy big. I'm talking about 10 feet, like 6 to 10 feet tall, depending on location. The ones in Arizona, I just got back from Arizona, they were huge, 10 feet tall. Swear to goodness, 10 feet tall and white. It was beautiful. It was like a wall of yellow bells. I was totally in love with it. So I'm hoping that mine does something like that. And I'm not even asking for a 10-foot wall. I'm just looking for like maybe 5, just up to that rock wall right there. I think that'll be all right. Or maybe a little bit bigger so it covers up that disaster of a hill I have. You know what I mean? But coming back to this plumbago, this is very compact in full sun, right? But then you look over there, and this plumbago, part sun, right? And I trimmed this already twice. Like once in the fall, and then, but not that much, right? And then in the spring, just a little bit, just a tiny little bit, just to help it have a better shape. And now it's looking kind of out of control, which I like. So, right here, compact. Naturally growing wild, baby. So sun exposure makes a difference. Okay, here I have some more Vinca Madagascar, some Mexican feathergrass, some canna lilies, a white vitex, which I'm not sure, guys, because I have a purple vitex. Purple vitex is very standard here in Zone 8B. Um, this one said it was a white vitex. I've never seen a white vitex. If you have or you actually grow one yourself, please let me know how it does. I'm going to just treat it as I do my purple vitex. I have my purple vitex growing as a tree. I shaped it as a tree. But this one, I think I want to keep as a shrub. Um, the tag was all wild too. It said that it was a white vitex and it had a beautiful aroma. I do not think vitex has a good smell. It's got a very pungent smell, but it's nothing that I'll run to just get a whiff of. It doesn't smell good to me. Let me know if you think it smells good, but I just find it off-putting. Right here, you have some random wildflowers growing. Some wild sunflowers, very pretty in between the little areas. I have a orange, blood orange tree right here. The wind has did its damage, and again, same issue. I was overwatering it, but I think I got it down. So one of the things that I've been researching, and I heard from several other groups, including the El Paso Fruit Growers Facebook group, is fruit trees and citrus fruit trees, you want it to grow on a mound. You know how they always say, dig twice as deep, twice as wide, and then make a berm and then water it deeply, and then you should be good to go, right? Well, now I'm hearing, yeah, you do that stuff, but you also want to kind of um, have it grown kind of on a mound and a berm. So then that way it doesn't have wet feet, but then it gets watered deep into the roots. So the roots will get the water. But it needs time for it to dry out a little bit, with the first 1 to 2 inches of the soil to dry out. So that's one of the things that I'm working on right now on trying to do. I do have it on a mound. I did have a berm, but now I'm using a water hose to deep water it. So it kind of messed up my berm. I just got to go back and redo it. So keep that in mind when you're planting citrus or any kind of fruit trees. It's more so on a mound now versus just like digging a really deep hole and not letting the roots have an opportunity to flare out, because apparently the root flares need oxygen, right? And when you bury it in the ground, you're pretty much hindering it from getting that oxygen it needs to grow. So keep that in mind when you're growing a fruit tree. Let's see, what else is here? Again, more of my Vinca Madagascars. The yellow leaves are because of overwatering. To prevent it from continuing with overwatering, I minimize the amount of water that I'm giving it. And instead of doing it like every so often, it's going to be once a week or once or twice a week, deep watering, and I'm going to leave it alone. Here is my Baja Fairy Duster. And this was definitely overwatered. This should be a huge shrub, but because of the overwatering, it just didn't do well. Now that I stopped watering, the fairy dusters actually started growing back. So I'm very happy about that. All right, guys, I'm back. Someone was at the door. So where was I? This is my Mexican red bird of paradise. Every red bird of paradise that I have in my yard is from one plant, and that mother plant actually died. But the seeds from it, which it gives every year, I just plant it randomly throughout my garden beds, and I've had complete success with them. So no issues here. So this is another one growing here. The flowers are orange and red. This could get very big. So keep in mind, if you want to keep it very compact, you are going to need to trim them back. These have a lot of thorns, so keep that in mind too. You're going to want to wear gloves. And speaking of wearing gloves, so I'm thinking about doing a gardening basics series. Let me know if you guys would be interested in it. It'll be like very short videos of like simple things like top 5 things you must need to start your vegetable garden, or top 5 things you need just to start a garden. What to know about soil. What does NPK in fertilizers mean? So those are just some of the ideas I was thinking. If you like those ideas, please let me know. And then that way I could start working on those kind of videos for you. But back to this. This is my pink coral vine. This is the one that I cut down to the ground just to see how it does. The other one that I mentioned before, I left the vines on the arbor and it seems like it was growing just fine. This one is growing just fine as well, but it's taking a while for it to actually get to the arbor. If you look here, let me show you. If you see here, they have these like little tendrils. And what it does is when it gets to this arbor, those little tendrils kind of stick and starts growing up these structures, right? Starts growing up these structures, and that's how it holds itself to the structures. Right now, this one is getting very, very close to get to my arbor. But the goal for this coral vine, which is a bee magnet, is to help pollinate all my flowers, especially later in the season, like late summer, fall, that time period, and provide some color interest to the yard. So I'm hoping that this thing gets a little bit bigger sooner so then it could go ahead and grow on this arbor. Now, let's talk about it. Let's talk about this. This was my orange tree that was doing so well in one of the corners of my yard. And I just dug it up because I thought it would need more space. And I placed it in my in the other space, and it just did not do well in that space. Then we had a whole bunch of wind, and with my job schedule and whatnot, it was hard for me to come out and water it. Oh, so this has been a disaster. I'm trying to see if I could keep it alive. The leaves are crispy, I'm not going to lie. Um, when you scratch, it's still green. So there's some life to it. So what I'm doing now is I placed it in a pot. That way it kind of reminds me, oh, come water the pot. And then if this one does thrive, then I could find a better location again and retransplant it. But I think between the transplant shock, the irregular watering, it just and the winds that we've had, it was just not doing too well, guys. But I'm hoping that it will make a comeback. I'll keep you posted on how that one does. But I really, really hope it does make it. So moving on over here, I have my Japanese honeysuckle. As you've seen before, this thing is absolutely beautiful. It smells so, so good. I would say honeysuckle and star jasmine, hands down, are the best aroma therapy you could have in your yard. Like hands down. It just smells so good. They're very beautiful to look at. Very refreshing, you know? So I have this one. This one is like maybe 1 full year or 1.5 full years of growth right here. I did have some soil issues here and watering issues here before, but between the watering and the fertilizer that I did give it early this year is definitely doing better than last year. My goal is for this to grow up this arbor, and it blooms only certain times of the year, right? So I figured this will be green and have beautiful honeysuckle growing all the way around. And then I'll also have my coral vine growing all the way around. So if it's going this way, it's going to be green during the end of the year. And this is going to be green beginning of the year. And this will have yellow and white blooms in the beginning of the year. And then this will have pink blooms at the end of the year. So this arbor will always have some kind of bloom happening here, and it will smell good, and it will attract hummingbirds, other pollinators like butterflies and bees. So I'm hoping that I could reach that goal this year with that. Super excited. I did have a bench here. The bench I had here was a wrought iron bench. So with water and the elements, it just rusted really, really bad. I had to get rid of it. So let me know what your favorite bench to use in your garden in the desert. I do want something to kind of match my backyard seating area here because I think it's really, really pretty. I'll show you in a little bit exactly what it looks like. I got this off of Amazon. Very comfortable, very pretty. Um, but we have a cover for this. That's why the metal is protected here. But I just don't think I want metal again in this area. So I don't know. Let me know, guys. The Mexican feathergrass in this specific spot, yes, I am aware it's dead. I'm leaving it alone. I'm totally fine. But you see here, look at the Mexican feathergrass here. It's alive, it's vibrant, it's standing up straight. It's flowing in the wind. It looks magical, right? So if I want that, all I have to do is literally just pull out a baby that's growing, just like here. See? Just pull it and then just retransplant it. Okay, so this right here, I believe is my Texas sage. It's been a while since I talked about this plant, so not much to say about this plant except it's drought tolerant. It could get very big, heat loving. This usually blooms the hottest part of the year in the summer when it's monsoon season. But other than that, it just stays as a green foliage for me. But I don't know if you guys noticed, but check that out. I got little flowers on there. It's barely popping, but it is coming along. Back here, I threw a whole bunch of wildflower seeds, and this is what's left of it. It's still trying to grow. As it was growing, the squirrels were coming down and also eating off of that. So whatever was in the seed mix, the birds and the squirrels really, really liked it. And whatever's left is whatever plants they did not like. So I'm hoping that these plants, since they kind of deter the wildlife from eating it, I'm hoping that it does have a chance to grow, and this will be like a pretty little space of whimsical flowers in that corner. So I'm hoping that that will work out for me. Here are the transplant I was telling you about, more Aptenias, just like the plant on the other side of my backyard. I just put it in a circle. I watered, and I'm just letting it do its thing. And it's going to start growing in, and it'll make a pretty little circular um, landscape accent piece for this spot. And it will protect the soil and the ground because it's a live ground cover. Here I have red verbena, also loved by the squirrels. So I had my cat mats on top of this recently, and now it's finally starting to bloom. So I'm really happy about that. I don't know. I've seen people's that are established. It looks very, very pretty. So I'm giving, I wanted to have a fighting chance to do well in my yard. This spot of my yard, back history, never performed well for me. It really hasn't. No matter what I've done in this area, it just never really did well for me. That's why a lot of the things back here are in pots. The soil quality is just horrible. I told you this was native dirt. It had a lot of, oh, what's the word? A lot of rocks, gravel, boulders, um, landscape plastic, like 2 different levels of landscape plastic. So it just didn't do well for me here. And of course, I just did not have the funds to dig up every single bit of the landscape fabric. So what we did was we built up with the soil and the mulch. And if we do have a shrub or a bush that we needed to plant, we just made sure we went through the plastic and helped the roots go underneath the plastic. So then that way it could grow through that way. So I needed something to still cover up the soil and protect the soil, but didn't have a deep rooting system. So it could grow faster for me. That's where the circle of Aptenias come through. And I'm hoping that the red verbena right here will grow and start trailing. And so it'll be like a nice little river effect right here. Oh, right here of verbena, just right here. And then it looks like it's growing from the circle of Aptenia. So I think it'll be really pretty. So going back here in my pots, nothing big. I just have some peppers that were still good from last year. Most of the time our winters are cold enough that they would all die and I would have to replant every year. But this year, none of my peppers needed to be replanted. They actually did very well with the temperature. As you can see here, these peppers are dried, they fall off, and then this is what you could use to season your pizza or season your food, but mostly your pizza. Very spicy. And then I just throw the seeds there and let them regrow. Over here, I have my, I want to say this is one of my Tacomas. I can't remember what color it is. It's been a while since it bloomed because I had some watering issues. And so it had a hard time blooming for me last year. So once it starts blooming this year, I'll put in here exactly what it is. But it is definitely doing better than last year. So I'm very, very happy with that. But I'm pretty sure it's a Tacoma. Here, I have my trumpet vine. I've had it for a couple of years. No blooms yet, but it is also drought tolerant. I would say, for the most part, it's heat loving, right? But I think mine, what it's really suffering from is now the shade protection from this Chilean mesquite. So it's not going to give me as much blooms as it did when I didn't have the tree. So that's why I'm like, I'm not sure if it's full sun loving or not right now. But throughout the year, I'll check on it and let you know how I have determined the sun exposure for this plant. Now, my Chilean mesquite, let's talk about it. So this Chilean mesquite's thornless, drought tolerant, heat loving, very fast growing tree, right? So this one right here and that one right there was planted exactly at the same time, came from the same nursery. And this one is doing great, right? But here, it went through a lot of struggle periods, okay? It grew way too fast. With the heaviness of the top, it was starting to pull the roots out with our winds. It started pulling the roots out. And so this tree was leaning one way and then we would cut off a branch and it grew another way. And just last year with one of our heavy winds, a lot of the branches fell onto my back patio, which is right here. So I called the El Paso arborist and they came out, they examined the tree and they cut off some of the branches to even it out. And they said to just leave it like that. I get kind of worried about this just because I'm afraid that it's going to split some more and then topple over into my neighbor's yard. But El Paso arborist is very known and very knowledgeable group of people. And so if they said to leave it be like that and let it heal on its own, then I'm going to trust them for that. If anything happens with this tree, I'll definitely let you know how we're going to recover from that. But as of right now, it's still there. It's still sturdy. They gave us recommendations, so we're going to follow it, such as after a year or two, they want to come out and cut off another branch, so then it'll be more balanced. And then a couple of years after that, cut off another branch, so it'll be balanced. So it'll start growing, I guess, out instead of straight up. Because these were supposed to be, I guess, the branches were supposed to be lower and then wider, but I was training them to be taller and more narrower, which was the complete opposite of what you were supposed to do with the Chilean mesquite, apparently. And so this is the outcome of that. So right now it'll be just throughout the years, just re-establishing the weight of the tree and where the branches need to be, so that I don't have this happening again with every single branch, because it is a very strong, sturdy tree, but with the winds and you already have a split in there, with the weight, it's just going to break off. But as of right now, this is what it's looking like. This right here is my raised bed. This thing is a disaster. So backstory on this, I've had this raised bed for, oh my gosh, like 8 years. My husband made it for me for a anniversary gift, which I love. It's so sturdy, right? But I was completely new to gardening, and he was completely new to gardening, and he just wanted to do what I wanted, right? To keep me happy, which he did. But we made mistakes with this raised bed. One was it's too wide. So when I need to reach for stuff, my reach is only up to here. This is a 4'8" bed. So I could only reach up to here, right? So when there's things planted in the back right here, unless I get into the bed, I can't pull like easily. So that was a problem. So what we should have done was make this more narrow, so then I could have a perimeter that I could walk around, so I could get to my bed easier. When it's time, what we're going to do is we're going to remove this and we are going to build up. As I get older, my back is killing me. I know several of you guys have this issue too. So if you have back problems, or you foresee yourself having back problems, which is all of us, I recommend you build up. So make a raised bed that's easy for you to walk around, so you could reach every part of that raised bed with ease, and have it at a height so that you don't have to really bend or stay on your knees or jump into the raised bed to grab stuff, okay? Another thing, so the bed looks like this for 2 reasons, or actually 3 reasons. One, I did have a shade cover here long time ago, like 2 years ago, but the wind blew it off and damaged this trellis that I had built onto it after my husband made the raised bed, and it literally just took it all out. I think it's still in my neighbor's yard, to be honest, but it's looking really, really bad. So it looks like this. It's going to be fixed. That's one. And then 2, so it didn't matter what I planted in here, the ground squirrels got to it, mainly because we did not have a bottom to this. This goes straight to the ground, and these are ground squirrels, right? So once they figured out that there was a food source here, they started digging underneath my raised bed, and then literally I would see them in my fort that I created, them underneath it, just grabbing and eating the plants. And I was just like, how rude. Smart little critters. So the thing I would need to do is either plant fruits and vegetables that I know they won't like, which they're scavengers, right? So they'll eat whatever they need to survive. So it'll make it very difficult. I have to do that, or I think I'm gonna remove all this and just make it into a flower bed until we're ready to make it into a raised bed. And so that way I could still have something pretty in there. I could still plant in here, but I don't have to worry about the squirrels eating anything in here. I just have to pick plants that I know would deter the squirrels. They don't like. They don't like apparently very aromatic plants like basil, lemongrass, mint leaves, stuff like that. So I would be more likely to plant that in there. But until then, I'm keeping my bed looking as such because my ornate box turtles do eat kale and chard. So I'm using whatever's left. I cut it up and then I give it to them for their meals. I do have some my parsley growing there. I have a couple mums growing here. Tomatoes that are left that's growing there. Everything else was eaten. I was so sad. I got like $50 worth of vegetables from Patrick in the Garden. And kid you not, it took less than 2 weeks for them to devour everything. I was so sad, but I do have 2 of the tomatoes that I purchased from him. And I think I have a cucumber that they haven't seen that's still growing in there. But I'm not going to be surprised if they're all eaten down too. Here, okay, this is so sad. I'm going to show you anyway. This is my Lady Banks rose. I had complete soil issues here. I did plant in a ground squirrel hole. So it was struggling really, really bad. I'm actually happy to say that it is growing back. I'm just kind of like leaving it the way it is, just letting it go rogue, just so it could grow and heal. And then I will retrain it to go on my wrought iron fencing. But oh my gosh, guys, I really thought just putting the plant in there will deter the ground squirrels from like digging and getting out from that hole. But what they actually did was they literally just dug around the plant, which then left the soil exposed. And so I'm here every other day, like compacting the soil and the mulch and stuff like that. What I did this time around, which seems to be helping, is so this is my kumquat, and as you can see, it has like really sharp thorns on it. So I cut the pieces that I don't need from here, and I placed it in there. So it's kind of like a little thorny protection piece underground. And I don't know if that's why it's helping, but I did that, and now my plant's growing. So I'm going to say that that's the main reason why it's doing that. Hercules, stop barking, baby. I don't know what he's barking at, guys. Like look at him. Look at him. You see them? That's Smushy just eyeballing me because she's upset that she's over there and not with me. And there's Hercules. 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 See? He doesn't care. So, sorry about the barking, guys. I can't control him. He's his own wild animal. Here, I have more Aptenia. Again, same thing. Cut some pieces, stuck them in this raised bed. This is my celery. Grows back every year. No issues. Doesn't matter if I water it or not, it will grow. This section is kind of like my more drought tolerant section. Same issue. Again, all my plants, guys, keep in mind, this is end of April. We saw that we had some watering issues, and we're trying to improve our watering schedule and the amount of water that we're providing each section. So we're just going through like a trial and error phase. As you can see here, I have my sour fig ice plant here. That is the same as this. It blooms these really pretty flowers. Pollinators love them as well. Same concept. You can, or same idea, you could cut off a piece and stick it in the ground and it will regrow. More vincas and more of those poker plant, hot poker plant. I want to say it's Monrovia hot poker plant. It's got to be. That's what's popping into my head. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I'll put a picture up of it and the name when I get a chance, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But I got 2 of them growing here. So just picture 2 of these beautiful poker plants growing in the back. You got this feather grass, right? And then you got this low growing vinca right here. And then you have a cascading ice plants down here. All different textures, all different vibrant colors. I think that'd be very, very pretty. Here, ice plant, ice plant. This is my purple salvia. Watering issue is why it looks that way, but it does have pretty purple flowers. I'm changing up the watering schedule. Let me know how often you guys water your purple salvia. It is supposed to be a heat-loving, drought-tolerant plant. I think my biggest mistake was the watering issue, but the location should be perfect for it. And I think that it is a watering issue because I want to show you back here. These are my lavender. This lavender, I never watered. And then this lavender, I watered. And see the difference? So, I really think it's all about the watering. Here. This is my side yard. It's not really my backyard, right? But I want to show you guys what we did with it. We planted some grass here so that the dogs could have their dog run where they could do their business. Oh, there's Rocky. Rocky. And there's Rocky. Oh, this is their turtle habitat. We have some, again, ice plants. That's some dried arugula. I want to say it's arugula. They're able to eat arugula. And so once they started drying out, I just left them there. And also provides some shade and protection in a hideaway. So that's where that is. Rocky here is trying to make an escape. But they cannot get out. And then you have my blue whale, agave, here. More hideaways, more ice plants, more aloe. I have some of the chard and kale growing here. More water sources for the turtles, some more hideaways. And the turtles are loving their space. Oh my gosh, look at this Palo Verde. Isn't that pretty? Gosh, it's so pretty. I have another Lady Banks rose here. This one's doing so good. I actually am very impressed with this one. Let's see here. This is my shoestring acacia. And back there is that tree right here is my California pepper tree. Again, all of these are drought tolerant, heat loving trees, fast growing trees. All three of these are fast growing, very sturdy here. Definitely have a strong root system. So keep that in mind when you're growing it. Normally I would say don't plant these trees this close to the house because of their root system. They're supposed to be tap roots, so they're supposed to go deep for water, right? But because I don't have that much water growing out here, they're spreading out. When I put this fencing in about 2 years ago, I had the contractor dig about 6 feet down and he poured concrete and he cut off all the root system along this route, right? Because he was putting like a predator fencing netting system on the bottom so that way my turtles can't dig out and no predators can dig in. And so it cut off a lot of the root system to these plants. So unless these trees go past that 6 feet and then underneath that, I'm not going to have to really worry about these trees messing up my foundation. And now we are on our patio, okay? So here I have my dianthus. No blooms. It's just a mat. I haven't fed it. And this is what it looks like when you don't feed it. If I feed it, I mean, look how thick this mat is, guys. If I feed it and I deadhead, then the blooms will come out and it'll be really pretty pink flowers. This is actually one of my favorite plants. I know, even though it has no flowers on it, because even if you don't have flowers on it, and even if you don't have time to take care of it, it still looks pretty. I think it still looks pretty. It's a pretty matted plant. It thrives all year long. During the cooler months is when you actually see more of the flowers bloom. But deadheading is a must with this plant. And I just don't have time to do it. Just with my work schedule and family life and my daughter being in activities and such, it's very hard for me to come out and maintain the yard on my own. I do my damnedest to do it, but there are certain plants that I'm kind of been humbled by, and this is one of them where it's like, yeah, you don't really take care of me, but I'll still be pretty for you. And so I thank Dianthus for that. So this is my patio. I had my patio done a couple years ago, part of a renovation, and I love how it turned out. So let's talk about the little plants that I have here. This is that white hippo. Again, it said that it was supposed to be in full shade. So here it is in a pot. I have some that I showed you earlier in that corner there. And I have another set of plants strictly in soil or in shade and in ground. So that's actually technically 3 different spots that I'm experimenting with to see how it does. I have my pothos here. It's doing pretty good out here on the patio. It was just not getting enough light in my sunroom and it was struggling. And so I had to remove it and I just tried out the backyard. And so far it's doing well. We'll see how it does when it's in the summer. Here are my geraniums in different colors. So I have this pink one. It has so many beautiful blooms, but I know with the winds, a lot of the petals were taken out. I'm fine with it. As you can see, there's some that's going to be growing in soon. So this is going to look really, really pretty in a couple weeks or probably in a couple days. But if you can see, there's some pink flowers on this one. This one is like a coral color. And then this one is a red. All live in a pot. All of them are watered once a week or once every 2 weeks thoroughly. I have these drainage dishes and such a positive investment to my potting experience. So I got all of these draining dishes from Home Depot, and you set your planters on top. Long as you have a drainage hole in them, in your pots or your planters, they go down into this well right here, and then it drips out of that little hole. And then I have them all facing the grass, so then it just waters the grass. And I love it. I have it for every single one of my pots. My canna lilies here. Ooh, this is pretty. So this is my Proven Winners Silver River. It feels just like a lamb's ear. It's so soft. And it's named exactly how it feels, like a lamb's ear. I was actually looking for, I believe they're called Helen Vonstein lamb's ear. I looked in several different nurseries. I looked at several big box stores. They don't have them. I did find this at Home Depot, and it was like the closest I could find from Proven Winners. So that's where I planted, and I'm happy with that. I just hope that it has the same kind of attributes as a lamb's ear. I mean, the feel the texture is the same. I just don't know how much bigger it's going to get. So we'll see about that. This was my sweet potato, and I say was because it's barely struggling, guys. The squirrels really like sweet potato vines. I did not know that. And when I did find out, I was still determined to have it here. When I have my dogs out in my backyard and I have my sweet potato vines, I had no issues. It was growing beautifully. It was thriving. But since I spent less time in my garden now, even though I want to spend more time, the squirrels have noticed where the food sources are. And now they're getting very, what's the right word? They're living on the dangerous side of actually coming onto my patio to eat stuff instead of just staying on the garden bed area. So they're risking it all for the sweet potato vines, guy. So, but now that I put my Silver River in here, as you could see, some of it has been grown back. So I'm wondering if this is deterring the squirrels from coming to it, or it's just bigger than my sweet potato vine right now. So they just don't notice it. But nonetheless, it's growing back. I'm happy that it's growing back. I thought it was a complete goner. So I'm happy with that. This is my Proven Winners Super Tunia Vista Bubblegum. And this is what I was talking about. They said that this was an annual. It was not going to grow back. And I should replant it every year. But this is like 2 to 3 years strong. It's a perennial for me. And the way I protect it is putting a moving blanket over it in the wintertime. I leave it exactly where it is. Make sure it has a good watering before I put the blanket on. And I leave it on there until springtime. And then when it's springtime, I cut it. I water. I put fresh soil, fertilizer, and now it's growing back. It is a petunia. So again, these blooms were eaten by the squirrels. So it's just growing back. They are self-deadheading, drought tolerant, heat tolerant. They're supposed to be an annual, but they work in zone 8B as a perennial. Same thing, Aptenia and my Dianthus. I'm not sure if that was the right mix for me, but we'll see how it goes. And I say this because the watering, the ice plant doesn't need that much water, right? And Dianthus needs some water. So there are times where I've watered this and it's blooming for this, but then it's wilting this. So I stopped the watering and then this is getting better, but then this has no blooms. And then see, it's getting burned. So I don't know if this was a really good combination piece here. I just thought it would look really pretty and the different textures of it. But we'll see how that goes, especially further along in the summertime. Let's see. This is what my patio looks like. And I really, really love spending time in my backyard. I haven't had a chance to really enjoy it this year yet, but I'm looking forward to doing it this year just because it's just very pretty, very comfortable. This is actually a propane fire pit. I have my TV here. I have my hosta here, my pothos over there. And it's just a great entertainment area. My husband could be grilling over there, and then we just eat at our table there. So I love my patio. And we have our outdoor like AC unit right there because it does get hot. And even though my bladeless fans are right here, I have 3 of them, beautiful at night. I have also my outdoor lighting here, very beautiful, creates a very nice ambiance in the evening. But the fans, if I had more fans, it would do the trick. But unless you're sitting directly underneath the fans, the air is not going to hit the people away from the fans. So that's where this cooler comes through. And we just usually just turn it and it cools this entire patio deck. So we're definitely happy with that. So finally, if you guys are here with me, thank you so much for watching this long. I know it's kind of long. And I said I was just going to pick out key plants, but you know how it is. You do a garden tour and you want to just talk about every single thing that's in your yard, right? So thank you so much for bearing with me. But anyways, so here I have my hosta. I don't know if this was the winds or the squirrels, but something has eaten several pieces of it, or the wind broke off several pieces of it. But those pieces, I don't know where they're at. That's why I'm not sure if something eaten it or the wind snapped it and then went somewhere else. These are in ground. This is completely shaded all day long, and it has the white, Hippo White from Proven Winners and hostas that I got from Lowe's. And it's been okay. I mean, if you look at this and then you go to here, I want to say that it's doing a lot better in the shade, part shade to sun area. What do you guys think? I mean, these are both in ground. The tag said they do well in full shade all day. And is it looking horrible? No, I don't think so. But is it looking better than that other side? I don't think so. So we'll see as the summer comes on how it actually impacts with the more sun exposure and the temperature going up. Oh, I forgot about this. So this is my Monstera. It used to be my indoor sunroom plant, right? Normally it looks beautiful. What I do is I leave it out in this corner. It loves it. It gets the shade, the lighting that it needs. I water it like once every 2 weeks. It does fine. It does not like our winds. So we had that wind. I came back and literally, this is what I came back to. It was so sad. But it's trying to grow back, right? I mean, it's always got new leaves growing. So can I go ahead and cut all these pieces off? Yeah, I can. But then it'll be bare for a while. So I'm just going to leave this for now. Let the new shoots come out and grow in. And then once that kind of fills up that space, I'll slowly trim off the pieces that are kind of messed up. And it'll slowly be replaced by the new growth. But like I said, this is my Monstera. I keep it on the patio. I water it. It does not like the wind. It likes bright light, but not full sunlight. And as the summer goes on, what I do is I just move this closer into the patio. The only thing I have to worry about is the drainage hole, like the water dripping everywhere. So I do have another dish that I will replace it with when I move it closer in to my patio or onto my patio. And that way, just like this, just like my my hosta, that kind of a dish. And so that way it captures the water and then it won't leak all over my patio. Here I have my rose bushes. I do need to trim them down. One of the issues that I have with my rose bushes as of late is I was not keeping up with the trimming. And so when you don't keep up with the trimming, you don't really encourage the new blooms to hit, right? And because this is a shaded area, I don't know if you notice, but my roses try to grow this way, and it tries to grow out towards the sun. And that's usually where the blooms are coming. Most of my blooms are going to be right front and center, but the ones in the very back don't normally grow at all. When I got this house, these roses were in place. There was no mulch. They had every rich rose just thrown in there. And so it created this like crowded mess of thorns. It was really hard to get to. Some of them are climbing roses, but they had no structures. And some of these were regular roses. And so it just kind of overwhelmed the space. So this year I did a deep cut pruned back and it was blooming, but I just haven't kept up with the cutting of the deadheading. So that's why it looks like this. And really, if I do have climbing roses here, I really should put some kind of structure on there. So then that way it could actually showcase its beautiful roses. I might do that. I just don't know how to put a structure up without it like causing an issue with my view when I'm inside looking out. So I don't want to just see a wall of a climbing rose. I want to see my entire backyard for its beauty, you know? So that's where I'm at with that. After the deep prune back, I realized this one is dead. It's a matter of me just cutting that piece off. I do have some new growth growing right here. So I'm just going to cut this piece off and let this one grow. And pretty much that's it. Oh, this is my coleus, full shade. How beautiful is that, right? Full shade. This is my periwinkle. It's a shade-loving trailing plant. So my goal was I have my roses, right? And then I have my ground cover protecting the soil. And then just put some coleus. This is my trial plant. I'm trying it out in this specific area to see how well it does, how big it gets. If it's getting to a nice size, but I see bare spots, I know I could get this same plant and put it in those bare spots to fulfill it, and I won't have any issues in that area. So that's why I only have 2 in this area. Very beautiful. Look at that. Very pretty. And then we finish off with my red apple actinias, also known as hearts and flowers. This one is a lot lighter. I don't know if you notice. Oh, what is happening here? Oh, there's more dead stuff. This one literally is from one plant. It's a little bit lighter than my actinia that is over there, right there. And that's because, again, watering. This one's getting more water from the grass, right? So this one, I never even try to water it because I know it's already getting water as is with the sprinkler system. So I leave it alone and it's doing pretty good. It does have blooms, but it doesn't have as much blooms as the other one would with the sun exposure. So we have that going, but nonetheless, it's doing what I wanted to do. It's going to cascade over this brick border that I created, and I think it looks very pretty. So that was it, guys. I know it was super long, but thank you so much for staying and watching the whole tour. This is the end of April, and this is how much it's blooming now. So can you imagine what it's going to look like when May and June hits? It's going to be amazing. It's going to be beautiful. Hopefully I get the water system down just right so that my plants have no issues with growing and being overrun with too much water, right? So if you have any questions about the plants that I discussed in this video, you want more details about the plant, or you want me to do videos specifically only on that plant, just let me know. I would love to get your insight on it. But thank you again for watching, and I appreciate every single one of you who have subscribed and liked my videos and follow me on my Facebook group, Color the Desert with Lani. And until next time, I'll talk to you later. Bye.